The coffee in front of me had gone cold. The café was crowded with the sounds of conversation and clinking cups, yet I felt completely alone. 30 minutes had passed since the scheduled time of my blind date. Every minute felt longer than the last. Embarrassment crept into my chest as I imagined the waiters wondering why I was still sitting there. I checked my phone for what felt like the 100th time. No message. No explanation. No sign that she was coming. Then the café door opened. A woman stepped inside, slightly out of breath, her hair moving gently in the warm afternoon breeze that followed her through the entrance. Her eyes searched the room until they landed on me. For a brief moment, everything around us seemed to fade away. She walked toward my table, smiled softly, and said something that would stay with me forever. She looked at me and said, "You have kind eyes." Before we continue, if you believe in kindness, second chances, and the unexpected ways life brings people together, please take a moment to like this video, comment below, share it with someone you care about, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that touch the heart. My name is Nolan Mercer, and until that afternoon, I had almost given up on the idea that life could surprise me in a good way. At 36 years old, I carried more disappointment than hope. A painful breakup years earlier had left scars I never fully acknowledged. While friends got married, built families, and moved forward with their lives, I buried myself in work. I convinced myself that being alone was easier than risking another heartbreak. When my younger sister insisted on setting me up on a blind date, I resisted for weeks. Eventually, I agreed simply to stop her from asking. Now, sitting in that cafe after being kept waiting for half an hour, I felt foolish for believing this might actually work. Yet there she was. Her name was Serena Holloway. She apologized for being late. Traffic, an unexpected problem, and several unfortunate delays had turned her short drive into a stressful journey. Normally, I would have been irritated. Instead, something about her sincerity made it impossible to stay upset. As the afternoon sunlight streamed through the cafe windows, we began talking. What surprised me wasn't how beautiful she was. It was how easy it felt to be around her. The conversation flowed naturally. We talked about childhood memories, favorite books, embarrassing moments, and dreams we had quietly abandoned. Hours seemed to disappear without either of us noticing. For the first time in years, I found myself genuinely laughing. Yet beneath Serena's warm smile, I sensed a sadness she never directly addressed. Occasionally her gaze drifted toward the window as though lost in distant thoughts. Sometimes she would pause before answering simple questions, as if weighing whether to reveal something deeper. By late afternoon, I realized I didn't want the date to end. But just as we were preparing to leave, Serena shared something that explained everything. A year earlier, she had lost her fiancé in a tragic accident. The words hit me harder than I expected. Suddenly, the sadness in her eyes made sense. She explained that after his passing, she had withdrawn from the world. Friends encouraged her to move forward, but grief doesn't follow schedules. For months she struggled to find purpose. Even agreeing to this blind date had taken enormous courage. As she spoke, I recognized something familiar. Pain. Not the same pain I carried, but pain nonetheless. Two strangers sitting across from each other, both carrying invisible wounds. That realization created a connection neither of us expected. Over the following weeks, we continued seeing each other. We met for lunches, afternoon walks, and long conversations that often lasted until sunset. There was no rush, no pressure, and no attempt to force something before its time. Instead, trust grew slowly. Yet healing is never simple. There were days when Serena pulled away emotionally. Certain memories triggered overwhelming grief. There were moments when I questioned whether I could truly help someone carrying such profound loss. At the same time, my own fears resurfaced. The fear of rejection. The fear of investing my heart again. The fear of losing someone I cared about. Many people would have walked away. But something about Serena made staying worth the uncertainty. One bright spring afternoon, several months after our first meeting, we visited a community garden. Families were planting flowers. Children ran through the pathways laughing. Elderly volunteers tended rows of vegetables beneath the warm sunlight. As we sat on a wooden bench, Serena quietly shared something she had never told me before. After losing her fiancé, she had become convinced she would never experience happiness again. Not because she didn't want happiness. Because she felt guilty for wanting it. The admission brought tears to her eyes. For years, she had believed moving forward meant leaving the past behind. But slowly, she was learning that healing wasn't betrayal. Love wasn't something limited to one chapter of life. The heart could break and still learn to beat fully again. That afternoon marked a turning point. The walls she had spent years building around herself began to fall. And mine did too. Seasons changed. Months passed. What started as an awkward blind date transformed into something neither of us expected. A partnership built not on perfection but on understanding. A relationship strengthened by honesty. A love shaped by resilience. Then came the moment that would bring everything full circle. Almost exactly 1 year after our first meeting, I took Serena back to the same café where we had met. The same table was available. The same afternoon sunlight filled the room. The same quiet music played in the background. As we sat together, memories flooded back. The nervous waiting. The cold coffee. The uncertainty. The moment she walked through the door. I realized how close I had come to leaving before she arrived. How easily our paths could have missed each other forever. Life often changes in the moments we are most tempted to give up. As we talked, Serena smiled and reminded me of the first thing she ever said to me. "You have kind eyes." What she didn't know was how much those words had meant. At a time when I felt invisible, they reminded me that someone had truly seen me. Not my failures. Not my fears. Not my past. Me. And sometimes, being seen is the beginning of healing. Before we reach the end, we have a special request for you. Comment below, have you ever met someone who changed your life when you least expected it? Today, Serena and I still visit that cafe every year. Not because it's extraordinary, but because it reminds us that life can change in a single unexpected moment. If this story touched your heart, please take a moment to like, comment, share, and subscribe to Kindness Tales. Your support helps spread messages of hope, healing, and human connection to people who may need them most. As the sun set beyond the cafe windows that evening, I realized something important. Second chances rarely arrive the way we expect. Sometimes they arrive 30 minutes late. Sometimes they carry old scars. Sometimes they walk through a crowded room, look directly at you, and remind you that kindness still matters. And sometimes, the person you almost gave up waiting for becomes the person you spend the rest of your life grateful you waited for.